Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Khalya R.D from class 12 Science 4. My present number is 5. Here I am going to explain about narrative text and recount text. Narrative text. Definition of narrative text. The narrative text is a text that tells about something that is fictitious and only in the form of essays from the writer only. The purpose of narrative text. The use of narrative text itself has several purposes such as entertaining, educating, informing, conveying the author's experience, or as a medium to develop the reader's imagination. Example of narrative text such as folk tales, fairy tales, or fables that are legendary from all parts of the world. Although generally narrative text is imaginative, some narrative text is also factual. Generic structure of narrative text. First, orientation. The orientation section contains the opening of the story that contains the introduction of characters, introduction to the background time and place of the story. Anyway, this section contains a general part of the story that includes what, who, when, and where the story is told. Second, complication. In this section, the main character starts experiencing conflicts in his life and the main character must resolve the conflicts. Third, resolution. The resolution section is the ending story section. In this section, all the problems must be resolved by the main character. In the resolution section, there is also usually a moral message or moral value or advice that we can take from the story. The moral value in the ending of narrative text is called coda. Language features of narrative text. Using part action. Using specific noun as pronoun of person, animal in the story. Using adjective which are for noun phrase. Using time connectives and conjunction to arrange the events. Using adverb and adverbial phrase to show the location of events. Using dialogue to elicit an emotional response from reader. Using past tense. Using of variety of simple, compound, and complex sentence. Example of narrative text. Thumbelina. Once upon a time, there was a kind woman who had no children, longed for a baby and would often say, "How I would love to have a baby girl, even a tiny little one." A beautiful fairy heard her wish one day and gave her a little seed to plant in a flower pot. When the seed bloomed into a tulip, the woman saw a tiny, beautiful girl inside, no bigger than her thumb. She decided to call her Thumbelina. She was so small that she had a walnut shell for a bed and used petals as a blanket. Then an ugly toad fell in love with Thumbelina. One night, when she was sleeping, he carried her off to his lily pad in a pond. Thumbelina was very unhappy. A swallow was passing by and saw how sad she looked and said, "Come south with me to warmer lands." Young Thumbelina flew away on the swallow's back. They flew across the seas and come to a land of sunshine. The swallow said, "This is my home. You can live in one of the loveliest and biggest flowers." When Thumbelina stepped inside, she found a handsome fairy, as tiny as her, in its heart. He was the son of the king of flowers, and he fell in love with Thumbelina. He asked her to marry him, so Thumbelina became queen of the flowers, and the two lived happily ever after. Recount text. Definition of recount text. Recount text is a text that telling the reader about one story, action, or activity. Usually, recount text tells an event or experience that happened in the past. For example, like your experience on vacation or an experience you met your idol artist. Unlike the narrative text, there is no complication or conflict in the recount text. Purpose of recount text. First, The purpose of recount text is to entertain and inform readers. Second, the purpose of communication from a recount text is to tell an experience or event that occurred in the past with the aim of entertaining and informing the reader. Generic structure of recount text. First, orientation. It's about introduction the participants, place and time. It tells who was involved, what happened, where the event took place and when it happened. Second, events. Describing series of events that happened in the past, telling what happened and in what sequence. Third, reorientation. It's optional. It consists of closure of event or ending. It's stating personal comment of the writer to the story. Language features of recount text. Using the simple past tense, past continuous tense, past perfect tense, and past perfect continuous tense. Frequent use is made of words which link event in time. Focus on a specific participant. Using the conjunction, using an action verb, the passive voice may be used. Example of recount text. A vacation to the beach. Last week, my friends and I went to the beach after school. We used public transportation. We reached the beach at 4 p.m. The beach was beautiful and clean. At the beach, it was fun. We played football on the coastline. After that, we built a castle from the sun. In the night, we made bonfire together. We roasted fishes and squids. Then we ate them. At midnight, it was time to share our scary stories. One by one, we told our story. In the morning, we went home. It was a moment I never forgot. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.